like in a perfect world, if perfect were possible, and you had no regulatory or budget constraints, how would you hope that energy efficiency programs could be run, or what would you change about them, I guess, in a perfect world?
Yeah, I would think about it as something that has to be sold, right? I think sometimes there's a confusion between allowing a program to be, allowing eligibility to everybody versus chasing everybody, right? Nobody's gonna say, that you're not eligible for something. Going back to my sort of probably bad DSL example of my local telco is, it's not saying that I'm not eligible for it if eventually it's technically possible, but why are you spending your money and your effort chasing me, right? Yeah. So, if Efficiency Vermont has a particular program, and I'm eligible for it, great. But that doesn't mean you've got to chase me as much as you chase the next person, right? You don't have to mail me your program for heat pump water heaters when the eligibility criteria is currently an electrically heated resistance water heater, and I don't heat my water with electric, so I can't participate. That doesn't mean that if I did, change that or whatever. So separate that eligibility from who you want to get, and think of it as a business, right? How do I, just like in sales or anything else, how do I get my funnel? How do I know as much as I can about the customer without talking to them as early as possible? How do I get as close as probably an overused, metaphor, one-to-one approach to those customers? Now, we obviously, hopefully, will be less creepy than the Facebooks and the Amazons with our data, and a little more respectful of privacy and everything else. Because if we're not, then that's going to blow up, right? If we're going to use the data for energy efficiency, and all of a sudden, I start getting mailings about, tarmacking my driveway, right? And I start to get a hint, where did that data come from? So I think, it's fair to say that program administrators and utilities and vendors in the space have to be much more respectful of that data, that you don't suddenly, you give a certain amount of data to the utility or an analytics company such as you guys does all of that analysis, and then all of a sudden starts sort of it appearing on Facebook. So I think we've got to be very data respectful and hold ourselves to a higher standard than some of those social media companies and stuff. But I think if we approach it much more like we have something to sell, and we need to sell it as cost effectively as possible, and we need to get as much money as we can, to the per kWh. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe if you think about maybe a movement even to more pay-per-performance, but if it is pay-per-performance, then you've got to let the people choose the process. You can't say, look, this program is pay-per-performance, it's X per kilowatt hour. Oh, and by the way, we're going to evaluate you to see what individual steps you took and where you spent every piece of your money. No, if it's pay-per-performance, it's pay-per-performance, right?
Sure.
Put it on my shoulders to get the kilowatt hours, or the utilities or whoever, and let them run free and use technology and best processes, etc., to get that.